Hello, listener. It's springtime. Briefly, so the world economy. I've been learning about options. And America. The options for America. Ooh. Ruff, 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 ruff. Ah. I think it's important for you a lot about what you do. So I just got the deluxe version of UCam, and I am going to use it. Yes. Okay, let's talk about important things like it's springtime in Dallas, and it's springtime in Michigan. It's springtime all over the northern hemisphere. Whoop, I got a text. Uh, yes. Well, since you're still watching, you're in for a treat. This is my investment recommendation. I'm buying puts. That is an option. It's kind of an option. That means you have the option to buy or sell a contract of stocks. Each contract is for 100 shares of the stock at a later date. And I'm using some pretty out of the money strike prices. Out of the money, meaning it's if you were to try to buy those stocks right now, you would lose money. Very simply. I'm buying puts on Wynn or Wyndham worldwide because I don't think people are going to be going to hotels in a while. I think I got a pretty long range, like a year out put, or I'm going to try to buy them tomorrow, and I've set a limit price pretty low at the closer to the bid or at the bid, and I'm also going to buy a put on AutoNation and CarMax because I think we have a car bubble. Bubble. Too many people getting silly cars. Oh, I've also bought a long call option, 100 contracts on a silver company, like I recommended before, Coeur Mining. I had made 80% off of that. So that's a pretty good return on investment in 1 month. My option and my stocks for that. And yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So you could do the same, or you could do whatever you want. I also sold my house because I think houses are overvalued. And I opened up a futures trading account, so I might get a silver futures, the tinier ones that CME offers out of Chicago. And I might not. had a hypothesis. So generally, I would never be a day trader because you would lose your mind trying to. You're just reacting to things, and it's just too stressful. It's just not worth it. Just go get an honest job and save some money, and then the closest frequency I can do is like medium term or whatever. It's certainly not day. I'm talking like a couple weeks to a month. That's as narrow a time frame as I could stand to try to invest in stuff. And I came up with the hypothesis. Basically, what news is going to carry the day, and how does that let me know a trend towards the direction of the market. On the con side for precious metals, the Fed is a little more hawkish. Stanley Fischer was talking about inflation numbers being good. The U.S. job numbers been good. The oil price has been increasing, which people consider a bellwether. And what a bellwether was a sheep that had the bell on the front, and all the other sheep would just follow it. So that's kind of how it's a good description of people's behavior too, especially with economics. I would say the United States Federal Reserve and the oil price have been kind of bellwethers lately, just watching how people react. But they also reacted strongly to the European Central Bank, which was very dovish, which is actually pro-gold and silver, sort of. Another thing that's in favor of precious metals like gold and silver is China's exports year over year were down 20%. For February, I mean, 2015 was high, and it's the new year, but still. Japan's looking down. Whoop! And then there's still just the general issue of over-leveraging, which even the Bank of International Settlements is talking about now. I mean, McKinsey was talking about it last year. And they're all saying, well, governments just need to get more bold and have more fiscal stimulus, but I don't know, I think if you consider the economy to be like a drug addict, then the last thing you need is to give it more stimulation, right? I mean, you need to get off the stimulus. You could do, also something has to keep being propped up. Like maybe it's just not that strong. It's like, you gotta sink or swim at some point. Bird's gotta leave the nest, So, I was following it day by day, and I freaked out a little bit, and I made some trades that maybe I regret, but maybe I won't, because we'll see. But the hypothesis, my bet was basically that hawkishness would somewhat carry the day. That certainly wasn't the case with the ECB. They were extremely dovish, and dovish meaning like loose policy. They're just going to do a lot of quantitative easing. They drop negative interest rates another 10 basis points. But then they had a hawkish aspect in that Mario Draghi went and he had a news conference in which he shot himself in the foot because he said, we're doing all this great stuff, but no more after this. This is it. This is the last stimulation that I would ever give, which as far as like the psychology goes, I mean, it's just why would you do that? Why? It's just, and so things whipsawed. First, gold and silver way down, and then they shot up. Euro was way down, and then it shot up. The markets were way up, and then they shot down. And then in the days pursuing, it kind of settled out, and then the oil news kind of started carrying the day by Friday, the 11th of March here. Because oil's continued on up, stocks have gone up, gold and silver started drifting down. And that was my hypothesis, is the hawkish kind of thing would carry. And I am hoping that when the Fed meets this week, that the markets might interpret whatever they say as being a bit more tightening, more of a promise of raising interest rates a little bit this year, which will bring stocks down. And or steady, but gold and silver, because people want to go to dollars, it might go down. That was my hypothesis. Gold and silver would go down. So why do I care about gold and silver? Well, they're scarce things. They're typically used as safe havens. They've been used as currencies in the past. Central banks also have reserves as a way of backing their currency, because it's it's just a valuable, scarce thing. They could also do it with diamonds or something, but silver and gold are metals. They can be more malleable. They can be put into ingots and into blocks and into coins, and so it's a nice unit. It's always the same troy ounces. So yeah, generally that's my hypothesis, and so it takes a couple weeks to play out. I came up with it like a week and a half ago, and we'll see. Because it could also go that they might be more dovish, and that could make the stocks go up and make gold and silver go up. I don't. People using oil as a bellwether, but oil isn't necessarily. It's not usually been an indicator of the health of the world economy. Sometimes China news is used as an indicator. There's all kinds of stuff. People are always looking around and around and around. It's just happens that oil's been what people keep looking at. I think it's possible that the oil price could go up, and that could be a bad thing for the world economy, because the prices of things, inflation might get a little too out of hand in some places. China's already seeing signs of some real inflation that could be a problem. And certainly by backing their currency, by spending their dollar reserves to prop up the yuan, people conflate these concepts, deflationary and inflationary. They basically mean deflationary in the sense of Japan from the 90s until today, really, in that instead of growing, people hold on to money. And I've already talked about this, liquidity traps, but there's also just the inflation of prices stuff going up a lot. And I could go on and on and on, but I'm not going to go on because I don't feel like it. I already told you what my stock tips are, my options. Short Win, short the auto stuff, Carmex, AutoNation. I'm going to try to be able to do foreign stocks. I would short the luxury companies. I think it was Burberry was handsomely priced, and also the French one, was it Hermes? One of those was like way crazy high. I'm like, are you kidding me? Yes. So the peak for Hermes International was last summer at $358.60. And presently it's still at $326.80. At its low during the financial crisis in 2008, it went down to $64.82. It is just, Hermes International, but you have to trade it on the EPA, the Paris Stock Exchange. So I'm going to see if Charles Schwab can set up a global account for me. Another one that's sort of worth shorting is Tiffany & Co. at a New York Stock Exchange, but its high was already reached fall of 2014 at $107.92, and now it's down to 71. In 2009, it went all the way down to $17.21. So I mean, it's, if it performed again like it did then, it could go down quite a lot. And in the .com bust, it went down to $21. So it was already going down a lot this year, but really was going down in 2015 as well. I think part of this is that these luxury companies have more exposure to China. So it's a way of shorting China, but it's also guessing that, like, if things are bad, people aren't going to be out buying that many luxury goods, right? It's more volatile, it's more sensitive to that. In the automobiles is more because it's just there's an auto credit bubble. There's been too much loaning to that, and the Wall Street Journal just had an article about how there's more people defaulting on auto loans. It's a flashback to the crisis in so that's the news from over here, dear listener. Stocks and bonds. Well, stocks and stocks. Yeah, it's a crazy time right now because yeah, it's hard to say what's going to happen. I don't have a crystal ball, but that's my guess. And my portfolio was up 80%, and that was just basically core mining, an option to call core mining. I mean, a call on it, and AG, which is I don't even know, Frontier Silver or something. First Majestic, mostly Mexico. And you know, oil could go up, but if demand starts tanking, oil will go back down again, and that's what some other people are saying. But eventually, the suppliers, people are going to start going bankrupt in the U.S., and suppliers internationally are already talking about having a cartel, Saudi Arabia, Russia, and Iran. Or maybe it wasn't Iran, I don't think they, but someone else. Whatever, like OPEC. So yeah, well, you could long oil. It's just if demand starts tanking, oil will go down again. So it's more of a risk. And my peach tree has flowers. First flower. Oh yeah, my house is sold. So that's I'm gonna have more cash to play with here. And that's about it. I'm gonna keep my car. I was looking at Toyota Tacomas and Tundras. Those trucks retain their value. They don't lose value for years and years. They just don't lose it. It's ridiculous. It's a great truck. My Ford Focus, on the other hand, my Ford Focus ST has lost value. It's lost about $7,000 or $8,000 of its value in 2 years. Toyota Tacoma might lose half that. Not even. It's ridiculous. All right, this is coming up on 20 minutes. I don't think anyone's even going to ever listen to this. So, I'm the king of my Christmas castle. It's Christmas all year long. Happy holidays from my castle. And that's I sing this song. Bam! I hope you liked it. I hope you subscribe. I put out new videos whenever I feel like it, which is not very regularly. And how do I make this thing? There we go. Oh, this is neat. I could put on a hat. It's like Google Chat. Yeah. Oh, one other note. A lot of my friends who live in echo chambers, more so than I do, that is to say, surrounded by people with very much the same politics. They all seem to think they've misinterpreted this guy, Donald Trump. They've bought into these sort of mainstream media narrative that he is just racist, and everyone who votes for him is just racist. And he doesn't know what he's doing, and the New York Times was just saying that he's just started this whole thing because he wanted attention, basically. He's not even that serious. He just wanted to improve his brand. And but finally the Guardian put out an article in which the writer actually listened to Donald Trump's talks. And he said, no, he doesn't spend that much time talking about Muslims and Mexicans and racism. He talks about trade mostly. Yeah, because he's a populist. He's not even he's not part of this mainstream Republican nonsense Mickey Mouse game that they put out. Whoever backs these people, hedge fund guys on Park Avenue, backing Marco Rubio and whoever. They hate him, and the news is just smearing him with slander and comparing him to Hitler because he is not controlled by them, and that's his whole point of his campaign, and it's very popular to the center part of the country. Like I'd mentioned before, that Atlantic article, The Divergence of America's Cities, that stuff's real, and a lot of people, the Rust Belt has lost so many jobs, and even in the South and the central parts of the country, they've lost so many jobs, so they're angry about that. So they're going to Bernie Sanders and they're going to Donald Trump. Donald Trump has more in common with the unions at the Seattle protests against the World Trade Organization back in the 1990s, if not the anarchists, but the unions who were marching at that protest, than he does with Jeb Bush or any sort of the Marco Rubio or any of those guys. And one could argue that basically the people with all the good money have co-opted both the Democrats and the Republicans mainstream. And then there's just like a narrow negotiation, but one that they could be comfortable with either way. And so now they're like, oh no, there's this guy Donald Trump, and there's this guy Bernie Sanders, and they need to be stopped. And they're just doing everything they can to slander them, but it's not working. And hopefully they don't assassinate anybody, because the thing is, there's some real political momentum and force behind these populist candidates. So that's my take on it. Read that Guardian article, and if you're a liberal, if you're a conservative, you need to understand that we're in a lot of debt, and a lot of people have lost their jobs, middle class suffering, and someone like Jeb Bush is not going to do enough to address that. That's why he's out. If you had wanted to have the more sober, sane candidates, they needed to be doing the right thing for a long time, but they were maybe a little too sober, a little too soft on things. They just weren't advocating for enough of a push against sort of the establishment. you regular bull crap that's been going on for a long time. So, it's my take on things. I've been saying for years that the Europeans are going to get nasty, and then for years people are complaining, like my more right-wing friends are saying, "Oh, the Europeans are just letting these immigrant Muslims just walk all over their culture, and they just don't care, and they're just going to clubs, and they're just well now." It's going to be the case that the European white people, the actual ethnic Europeans, are going to like, we're going to have to come in and save those Muslims because these people are the right wing's starting to freak out. And I said that all along. I was like, no, like at their heart, these people are Neanderthals. They're the Gauls and the Goths. These people are barbarians. I mean, look at the Nazis and the fascism and Mussolini. Like that's what's. It's not like the character of these humans have changed that dramatically. They were just like, they had such a minority that they like considered these people to be like pets, and they kind of had some assumption that like someone else would deal with them, because just like America's been protecting them, like Robert Kagan wrote in his book, that one neocon who's okay, I guess. We've had our army based there in Germany and everything throughout the Cold War, and we've had NATO, and we protected them from the USSR, and we rebuilt things in the Marshall Plan, and so they're just a bunch of babies over there, and they live in La La Land, and it's starting to realize like, oh wait, these people aren't that great, and we've got. I mean, they don't have that many Muslims in Europe. They kind of exaggerate. People don't understand what an accomplishment it's been in the United States to have the diversity we have, and the genuine tolerance, and also the sort of the melting pot effect. And that stuff takes time. I got a buddy in Army intelligence. He and I were saying it's probably wise to change the 1965 immigration laws and bring the numbers down so that we have time to kind of renegotiate our culture to incorporate, the new people, spend time to kind of figure that out instead of just keep bringing them in, because some people are already freaking out about it. You don't want to like try to force feed someone until they gag. You want it to come in gradually so that it's accepted. Maybe it's too late, because sometimes a happy economy can mask those, things, tensions that are underlying. But, hopefully, I'm saying explicit things. Hopefully, it's not quite so bad. Da 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 da. And some of the new immigrants have just kind of assumed America is just always a happy place with tons of material wealth. And they're going to be. I mean, everyone's going to have to get a little more political. Basically, people have been just sort of taking things for granted, and things have been going down the hole. That's my opinion. You can disagree or you can agree, depending on how you see a thing. What is that? I'm really thinking, depending on how you see a thing. Woo, America, meow, meow, God shed, meow, grace, meow, honey, sunshine, thy good brotherhood, from sea to shining sea.